Good evening, gamers. My name is KarQ. We're at that point in the season where we're 1 week after a patch. Mid-season 20 came out last week on January 8th, which was a Thursday right after the holidays. 1 week has passed, and what we do now on the series is 1 week into every major patch, so every season start or every mid-season, we take a look at the true statistical stats on the Overwatch website, and we plot them on a graph now, which was added last time, and now this time I'm able to actually add win rate, pick rate, and everything to make things look a little bit prettier and easier to understand. The first thing we're going to do is start with tanks. I'm going to go in order. Tanks, into damage, into support. Everything should be timestamped. We're going to go from tanks, PC, in all the regions, then the console, and then move on to damage on PC, damage on console, support on PC, support on console. So let's begin with the first graph. What are we looking at right here? Well, on your screen, you can see the tank win rates this season. Sigma is still your standout winner. At the top here, it's actually plotted based on your average win rate across all the ranks. It's the easiest way to go left to right. Obviously, it's going to have more context based on the actual rank you play in. For example, look at Sigma. It's fairly stable across all ranks and really shines in the high masters and grandmasters at a 55% win rate. But if we look at the far end where Orisa is down there, you can see she's sort of at like a 47.5% win rate in grandmaster, but every other rank pulls her down in the low 40s%, 42, 43, 44% ish. So the overall average is all the way at the bottom. Just goes to show that maybe the grandmaster players know how to play her when it works and play her relatively effectively, but not that effectively. She's still one of the lowest win rates by far, even at that rank. But the takeaway point here is Sigma is your staple pick, right? It's your best tank to play. The next one on the list looks like Junker Queen, and the third on the list looks like Reinhardt. But now that we have the context of pick rates, you can actually see Junker Queen's pick rate is actually pretty significantly low, much lower than the two that she's sandwiched in between, Sigma and Reinhardt. So if I had to say, for most players on every rank, Sigma is like your staple meta pick, great almost everywhere right now. Junker Queen, a little bit more of a niche pick, not picked too often, but when picked by the people who probably play her correctly, performs incredibly well. Reinhardt picked a lot. It's probably mostly carried by the high pick rates in the metal ranks, and it starts tapering off in Masters and in Grandmaster. His pick rate, that pink bar for Reinhardt, is actually quite low, but overall pretty healthy for the majority of players probably watching this. And then Doomfist has the fourth best overall win rate, but not too good at the high ranks. Grandmaster, it's really awful, to be honest with you. Same in Masters, 47.5% and 45% win rate in Masters and Grandmaster for Doomfist, respectively. But the metal ranks, he's doing just fine, and his pick rate is pretty healthy. He's actually played a lot based on the pick rates in Grandmaster, but it just seems like he's kind of feeding this season. He did get nerfed this season as well. They lowered the power block radius, if I recall correctly. Good thing we have this right in handy. Nerfed where the empowered punch deteriorates, and the projectile absorption rate on one of his perks got reduced in the power matrix. Biggest takeaway again, Sig, Rein, for most players, Queen if you're good at her, and then it goes all the way down. Your bottom three choices for in terms of win rate in Americas on PC is D.Va, Roadhog, Orisa, which is very surprising for D.Va being third down the list because she was much higher the last time we did it in the recent patch. And one of the main takeaway points that we can infer here is extended boosters perk was nerfed. The booster damage was reduced from 100% to 40% this season. And a big thing that I missed was the bug fix. There was an issue where D.Va's precision fusion perk was incorrectly applied to micro missiles instead of only her primary fire. Therefore, the micro missiles were firing at a lot better accuracy and dealing a lot more DPS and just absolutely deleting people, and was incredible. So she has gone down quite a bit on PC in North America. Well, that's not the case for all regions. We'll take a look at regions and console. Everybody plays on the same patch, right? Except console has some very small minor change difference, but overall PC NA, D.Va is not very favored at this current time, likely due to these two reasons, but as we go on, we'll see if that changes. So that's quite surprising. Roadhog is down here as well, which is same as last season, and same with Orisa. You can see Orisa actually carries one of the third highest pick rates in mostly the metal ranks because she's your default shield tank. Pretty easy to play, but her win rate is abysmal. Honestly, a lot of people who are defaulting, unless you just enjoy playing Orisa, don't pick her because you think she's good. You should genuinely play stuff that gets much better baseline value, especially if you're in the metal ranks. Reinhardt, easy answer. Sig, Queen looks pretty healthy. Doom looks pretty good in the metal ranks, and everything else in the metal ranks is actually sub 50% win rate. But anyways, that's a takeaway for America's PC. Let's move on towards EU, because we got a lot to go through here. What does EU have for us in store here? Any changes here? Let's go back and forth, back and forth. America, EU, America, EU. Okay, so in EU, it looks like Hazard's win rate climbs up and moves to the left, and Zarya's moves down to the right, and D.Va actually moves up quite a bit. She was bottom 3 at NA, but she's middle of the pack in EU. One interesting note, Sigma, Junker Queen, Reinhardt, pretty much the same story here. Same with Doom, but the D.Va takeaway that I talked about just a little bit earlier, you can see her win rate in Grandmaster, a little bit insane at 55%. So top players are playing her incredibly well. Metal rank players are performing absolutely terribly with D.Va right now, but you can see the graph just absolutely just skyrockets. Sorry, my camera's mirrored, so this way. It's going this way for the metal rank players in terms of win rates for D.Va. Orisa, same old story. Carries a big bulk of the pick rates, but performs terribly. Avoid Orisa if you can. Same with Roadhog, and just stick to the Sig and the Rhine and Queen if you're good. Doom is great if you're in the metal ranks as well. Ball actually has a pretty high average win rate when we look at this graph here, a lot higher than America's if I'm not mistaken. A lot of EU players love Wrecking Ball. It's quite interesting. Everything else seems quite middle of the pack, but those are your top 3. Those are your bottom 3. Let's move on to Asia for the tanks here. For Asia tanks, Sigma once again at the top, except it's not D.Va as the highest in Grandmaster, it's Sigma. So again, Sigma is the common denominator across all 3 regions on PC. His Grandmaster win rate and pick rate are both at the highest here. A large significant margin too. It's almost 58% for PC Asia. They love Sigma there. Queen is up here, and Zarya rises up a lot in Asia. They love Zarya up there, and Reinhardt moves all the way down to 4th from the bottom at this rank. I actually don't even think many top Grandmaster champion players even play Reinhardt. There's no data right now, as I'm looking at this, plugged in for a win rate for Reinhardt right now, if you take a look over there. Again, I pulled these stats today, Thursday, January 15th, so this might populate as more time goes on, but it's not looking very good. It's kind of strange because the pick rate actually for Rhine and Grandmaster actually has some data at 4%, but for some reason, I guess the graph didn't populate it. You can kind of infer it there, I suppose. Same with Mauga. You can see his Grandmaster pick rate is actually like super tiny. Is he missing any data? No. Oh, I just noticed Roadhog at the bottom is missing win rate data. Sometimes the website doesn't update. Let me take a look if it's actually changed. I pulled these earlier in the day. Let me see if it literally changed right now. So let's go over to Asia, competitive, tanks, in Grandmaster and Champion. Roadhog's, oh, it's because it's off the graph. I was like, how is it missing data? It's because my parameters are at 40% as being the cutoff. And I just looked and I just realized that Roadhog and Reinhardt are sub 40%, 35 and 39. Likely due to the small amount of games, if it's this bad, or maybe it truly is this bad in Asia, but at least we have an answer as to why that thing is empty for now. Similar story in that Roadhog and Orisa are near the bottom. Mauga is pretty low down here, and Rhine pretty low as well. Asia just doesn't like Rhine. They love dive. Winston's popularity goes up and his win rate goes up quite a bit in Asia. It's at a healthy 50% on the dot, but again, the statistical outlier is still Sigma. At the bottom is still like Roadhog and Orisa, bottom 3 as well, but Roadhog does even worse here. Okay, let's move on to console Americas. So if this is for you, pay attention here. So no longer is Sigma running the show, it is D.Va on console. I think I asked this last time. Why does D.Va do so much better on console? It's likely due to how the bans and everything work there. The meta changes. D.Va's a great answer with her Matrix for a lot of problems that you see on console, a lot of hit scan stuff. So she is at the top, especially in Grandmaster. It feels like she's a must pick if she's not already banned. Sigma, second place, still pretty healthy. So like across both platforms, Sigma does very well. Junker Queen, remember Junker Queen is always sandwiched in the top 3 on PC, but even on console, does pretty well in terms of win rate, even though the pick rate isn't too great. Every other tank is kind of middle of the pack. Mauga's a lot top 4, pretty good in Grandmaster in terms of pick rate and a very good win rate up there. If we look at Orisa here, she is obviously played a lot by the metal ranks. No changes there between both regions, but Grandmaster players on console love playing Orisa, and she actually does really well for the first time. Because let's just flash back PC Orisa really quick. PC Orisa's win rate still pretty bad in Grandmaster, but console Orisa win rate really, really high. And at the bottom of console, we have Winston. Makes a lot of sense when you see that Mauga's popularity goes up quite a bit on console, and Mauga just eats Winston alive in the 5v5 tank matchup. It's harder for him to do what he needs to do, so he is down there, which is pretty similar to what we saw last season. So if you're a console player, maybe Roadhog, Winston is not for you. I wouldn't even say Ram. Ram does pretty well for the metal ranks down there, but nobody plays Ram too well in the super high ranks. Sorry, let me like reorient for you guys. If you're a metal rank player, your best choices are likely Sigma, D.Va, looks like Zarya's really good here, and that's about it. If you're a high rank player, you're gonna stick to D.Va, Sig, Mauga, Orisa, Hazard even, and the ones you want to avoid for the most part are Roadhog and Winston. Ramattra in the metal ranks is like slightly under 50%, but yeah, not too bad. And that's for NA. Let's look at tank EU. D.Va once again just shooting to the top. I think the graph cuts it off at 60. It's probably above 60% up there. So D.Va once again at the top, Sigma up here. EU's always loved Reinhardt regardless of console or PC. They just love that hero in that region, so he's risen up quite a bit. Mauga again really high up there in Grandmaster Plus in terms of both win rate and pick rate, and Masters, excuse me. Everybody else middle of the pack, and then we see Orisa is a big a Wrecking Ball actually sticks out a little bit in terms of win rate for EU on console, does pretty well up there. Orisa win rate not very good, approaching near the bottom, but her pick rate, she is the most popular hero by far on console EU. I guess you can't go a game without seeing her. Very interesting stuff. And at the bottom is Ramattra this time. But again, similar to console Americas, you can see Ramatra's win rate in bronze silver is like close to 50%, but tapers off significantly as you go down. So Ram and Winston is picked really little, and he's got a terrible win rate, so just maybe don't stick with Winston and Roadhog once again. Ram only if you're in bronze and silver. Don't let me tell you what to play. And if you're on Asia console, sorry for skipping you in the previous video. D.Va at the top, Sigma at the top, Queen at the top. Zarya much higher than Mauga. Mauga seems to be a very NA and EU heavy tank on console, but in Asia they don't like that hero. He's bottom 4 here in both pick rate and win rate. I think his win rate isn't showing for Grandmaster, which means it's sub 40, or there's just not enough data going on here. And then at the bottom you can see Roadhog is actually at Grandmaster above 51% for some reason. Maybe there's like a few Roadhog one tricks just pulling that win rate up, but no data shown here for the win rate for Roadhog in like the silver, plat, and diamond, and that means it's probably below 40% if I pulled up the website right now. This might populate a bit better once we have more data and more people play the game there, but just avoid Roadhog in Asia if you can, if you're not very good with them. Interesting to see how Ryan and Ramattra are also on the bottom down here. Overall, I can see their win rate in silver and diamond and masters for Ryan and Ram down here. Not too terrible, but I think it's the Grandmaster win rate for Ramattra there with no pink bar. Same with Reinhardt, that pulls the entire average down. At first glance, it may look like they're a bad tank, but not really. They're doing all right. But again, takeaway point for console players: D.Va, Sig, probably safe bets. Let's move on to the damage heroes. Okay, what has been the meta shift for damage this season? Vendetta actually did get a pretty significant nerf this patch, at least what I thought was significant. What did they change for Vendetta this season? Well, what they did was they nerfed 10 damage off her projected edge. The soaring slice starts on cooldown when you spawn, so you can't like fly out of spawn right away on like Lijiang and just get to the point right away. There's a cooldown. Whirlwind dash DPS nerfed, and then the Raging Storm, which is the whirlwind spin, extra spins, that damage also got nerfed. But was that enough? I don't think so, because it looks like Vendetta is still pretty healthily the highest win rate hero by far on PC. Now, when you look at her pick rate down below, I guess pick rate really does add a lot of context. It's actually quite a low pick rate. May indicate that she's not meta, but I would disagree. It's because she's banned every game, and I see this in my games. I see her banned almost every game, and unfortunately, we don't have ban rate data from Blizzard. I've been requesting them to add it to this website as well, so we can also plot it for more context. But Vendetta, not picked too often thanks to bans, but when she does get picked, it looks like she's able to get away with everything, especially in the metal ranks. She dominates with the top 3 win rates in bronze, silver, gold in America's PC, and diamond and masters, excuse me. Grandmaster's a different story. It looks like in Grandmaster Plus, Venture is one of the best, along with Symmetra as well, and May believe it or not. Very interesting stuff here. But overall, it seems like the biggest meta shift, thanks to the pick rate graph we have here, is that Ashe was really popular last season. I know that, and she was top 5 win rate, but she did get nerfed. Her fall off range got cut a little bit, which is quite significant when you play super far distances. But good Ashes know how to play the right distance, so it's not gonna affect her too much. It just goes back to what it used to be, and one of her perks doesn't regain her ammo as often every time she hits the back-to-back shots. Definitely brought her down just a little bit, but honestly not too much. I think she was number 1 last season before this patch. Now she's 5th on the list in terms of overall win rate, but it's like really good. She's still a great hit scan option, still very popular as well. The hero that seems to have risen the most was Bastion, which he got buffed last season, and then he got nerfed this season, but I always thought Bastion was a sleeper pick, and then I think that buff brought him back to the spotlight where people were like, oh my god, wait, this hero is really good. And now, even though he got re-nerfed this season to kind of compensate for last season's buffs, the reminder that Bastion is like a good pick when played correctly means he's still very popular and picked a lot. He's one of your highest picked heroes in bronze, silver, and gold. Goes down quite a bit in Grandmaster, but that's carrying a bulk of the weight of the pick rates here. But his win rate across the board, pretty average. Actually, it's below average right now. So the nerfs definitely affected him, but people kind of have this recency bias where like, oh my god, Bastion was so annoying this season. Even though he got nerfed again this season, we're still going to pick him. Now, let me bring your attention to the bottom of the graph here, where Sojourn and Freya have been living here for the past, I've been doing this series for like the past couple of seasons now, and I have never seen Cass, Sojourn, or Freya be not bottom 3 or maybe bottom 5 with certain regions and consoles. Now, one thing I don't think I mentioned in the previous videos and why I think this is the case, at least for Cassidy, his pick rate is really high because he's always a default fallback hero. There's of course Cassidy mains, but Cassidy is the first thing you think of when you're already on the back foot and you're trying to think of a counter pick. It's like, who's annoying us? Who's killing us? Let's just pick a hit scan that has a hinder, because the people that are probably killing you are probably very mobile. Maybe it's a ball player, a tracer player, a Genji player, a Venture player, a Winston player. Maybe those are the players that are like super annoying, or a Pharah, Echo. You just pick hit scan because Cass is a safe, reliable pick that everybody kind of defaults to, and all those extra back foot picks are probably pulling the bulk of the pick rate and pulling down a bulk of the win rate, because a lot of times, even if you're already losing, that switch doesn't really do enough to like swing the tides that hard. And I don't feel like Cass is weak as a hero in a vacuum, but he's always been bottom 3 for that reason. And I don't think Blizzard should ever look at this and be like, we need to buff Cass. I think Cass is actually a pretty good hero, but again, there's this nuance or this specific scenarios that because he's picked like this, it pulls the weight down. Freya, different story. I don't think people are randomly swapping to Freya. She's still banned quite a bit, so her pick rate is quite low, but she was gutted last season. She got rebuffed slightly, so it's like kind of like a halfway from last season's nerf, but still like overall nerfed. They buffed like the primary fire, but the take aim is back at a point where it can two tap 225 HP heroes again, but not 250, which is what it used to be. It used to be 130 for the shot and the explosion. So 130, then back-to-back scope shots, it kills all 250 HP heroes, which is the majority of players. Then it got nerfed to 110, and now it's back at 115. So 115 back-to-back shots is 230 damage. The breakpoint is the 225 HP heroes like Juno, Lucio, and Kiriko and stuff. So still lethal against those heroes, but a lot of other heroes will live at 250 HP, so she's not great at, dueling another soldier, for example, because soldier can survive, sit on the heal pad, get a lick of healing. So anyways, her pick rate isn't great and her win rate's pretty abysmal. Sojourn, interestingly enough, the most popular hero in Grandmaster, but still one of the worst win rates right now. And it feels a little strange to say that I don't actually think they need to buff Sojourn by any means. She's like good in the right hands, but because it's a lot of like build up for the rail, you have to build it up. And if you're playing Sojourn and she's picked so much that if you're picking her against the comp that you can't build reliable charge, for example, you're playing Sojourn against like a Reinhardt, especially in 5v5, he probably has his shield up a lot. Yes, you're applying shield pressure, but there's other heroes that can do the same thing. And then it takes a long time to build 100 charge, and then maybe you can't find the right target, or the one time you do, you don't land the right shot where it matters, and it really sucks. But if you play Sojourn against someone like a Roadhog or an Orisa where there's no shield, she actually should be winning way more than 50% of the time. In any case, Sojourn carries a bulk of the pick rates, but still underperforming like crazy in Americas. So it's a very interesting take. Tracer's been out of the meta for a while. She's bottom 4 in terms of overall win rate, sub 50% win rate, which me personally I like because I'm a big Tracist. I'm coming out and telling you right now, I hate Tracer players. The hero itself, not the players themselves. But I hate dealing with Tracer as a support player specifically. Super annoying, but she still picked quite a healthy amount in Grandmaster, which makes sense. Super high skill ceiling hero, but not like overperforming by any margin, still at the bottom. Anyways, overall takeaway points, Vendetta in the metal ranks, if you can pick her up, she's still a very solid choice. And it looks like Venture as well, and Genji. One thing I didn't talk about was Genji. Genji got buffed this season. His ammo went back from 24 to 30. They just keep ping-ponging around the ammo. Not sure why the ammo swing, maybe it's the ammo swing combined with other nerfs to Bastion and Ashe kind of brought him back to life. So his pick rate's up, and his win rate is up. His win rate is pretty good across most metal ranks. In Grandmaster, though, still, Grandmaster players are probably still struggling with Genji a little bit because all the other choices are just so much stronger. Genji and Tracer, not been in the meta for a little bit. That's the takeaway for damage on America's PC. I'm sure the other regions have a similar story, so let's blast right through it. In EU, Vendetta, Genji, Ashe are your top 3 overall win rates. Ashe much higher in the Grandmaster department. Same with Reaper and Symmetra and Pharah in Grandmaster specifically, holding the bulk of the big win rates. For the metal ranks, it looks like Vendetta, Genji, Ashe, Pharah, Symmetra, and Venture are your big winners for metal ranks specifically. And then the big losers here, Sojourn, Cassidy, Freya, bottom 3 again. In terms of the pick rate, everything is pretty much the same. The context I mentioned with Genji and Ashe, Ashe, great reliable hit scan despite the nerfs. Genji very much picked again because of this recent buff, feels good. Bastion's still really high because of recency, even though he's also like middle of the pack, a little sub 50% win rate. Some Grandmaster players still finding him successful, especially in EU Grandmaster specifically. Overall, not too great. Soldier, always a big healthy pick rate for your solid hit scan option. Anything else different? No. Sojourn's still your most picked DPS in Grandmaster, and similar story. Not like the worst win rate. I think it's like 47.5, close to 48%, but yeah. Now, Asia plays the game a little bit differently, we can see here. Vendetta, maybe not in that department. Vendetta, not so much. Symmetra, Pharah was actually top 5 in the other regions, and they moved up to top 2 and 3. So Vendetta, Symmetra, Pharah are your top 3 win rate heroes, but their pick rates are pretty low. The biggest quote-unquote meta picks, again, are similar in the sense as Ashe and Genji, with high pick rates and pretty good solid win rates. So I would say they're your quote-unquote meta DPS, assuming Vendetta is banned. If Vendetta is not banned, I assume she is being picked all the time. Tracer in Asia, look at that pick rate. Tracer is one of the most popular picks in Grandmaster specifically, and her win rate in Asia Grandmaster actually at 52%. These Korean Tracers are just different, guys. Nothing else too significant to note here, so we can speed right through. Cassidy at the bottom, instead of being bottom 3, it's just straight up at the bottom here. Look at that pick rate though, especially in metal ranks, so popular in Diamond and Platinum. But like, yeah, he's just not too hot at all. But again, the back foot idea that I mentioned where you always pick him as like a counter later on, definitely pulling the weight down. I do think if we were somehow able to omit stuff like that and we just found a true Cassidy player who just picks him right from the get-go and makes him work, I'm sure it's looking a lot better. So I actually won't say like don't pick Cassidy. He's down here for a reason. If you're good at Soldier and Ashe, those are great substitute hit scans. Torb is actually like down here as well in terms of pick rate, but that's okay. His overall win rate does seem a little bit low because in Grandmaster when they pick him, it's pretty bad, but his he does pretty okay in Bronze, Silver, Gold. It's close to 50%, but in Grandmaster it's like 42%, so that's pulling the average down. Same with Widowmaker, that's not looking too good. But Sojourn this time, not the most picked hero. It's like third most picked hero. Win rate is actually a little bit better in Asia. You can see in Masters it's actually approaching 50%, and in Grandmaster it's not too bad, 48%. But overall, if you just want to like pick the 2 quote unquote meta DPS heroes, if you play on Asia, it's just definitely Ashe and Genji, and Vendetta when you can, Symmetra in the right cases, same with Pharah, and those are your good go-tos. Now let's take a look at console Americas now. What happens on console here? Sombra is your best overall healthy win rate on console. That is interesting because Sombra was like, I almost forgot that she existed on PC. She's not banned much anymore, at least in the games I play, and she's kind of been like whatever for a little bit, but she does really well here. Ashe, no surprise here, the Grandmaster players, the Zimmers love hitscan, and Ashe right at the top. Look at the top 2 most picked in Grandmaster, which is where the zimming is the biggest problems. It's Ashe and Soldier for pick rate specifically, but for the win rates, who absolutely dominates? It does look like they are dominating. Tracer dominates pretty well. And Pharah, what is that bar? That pink bar for Pharah is insane in Grandmaster. What is going on over there? There's the idea that there's Zimmers, and then there's the idea that people keep bringing up that if there's no Zimmers or no reliable hit scans, Pharah's able to do whatever she wants to do. Do I assume every Grandmaster console player in America runs into at least one Zimmer. If the Zimmer's on your team, then you can run the other DPS as Pharah. Those are always two. I don't want to like shoehorn myself and always say that's the full entire context or reason. Again, I don't play on console, so I'm not trying to like give you any extra insight because your experience is your experience. This is just what I'm looking at data wise. I'm not a data analyst either, so I apologize if I'm misinterpreting this, but I'm trying to figure out why Pharah specifically on America's console is just dominating, but maybe it's just like two Pharah players who are just eating everybody up there. Tracer is also doing really well here in Grandmaster Plus, but enough about Grandmaster Plus players. The majority of people watching this are probably metal rank players and your average players here, which is the bulk of you. So the takeaway point, Sombra, if you can, does solid. Ashe does pretty solid. Reaper is great. Sim is great. Soldier's great. And as you go down the list, looks like Torb is great in bronze, silver, gold, and then tapers off a little bit. And yeah, Widowmaker, really good in plat, diamond, and masters, but not too great everywhere else. But bottom three though, we have Mei down here. No data in Grandmaster for Mei players and on console. Sojourn, pretty healthy pick rate, terrible win rate. Same with Freya, bottom three. Cassidy's fourth down the list. Similar reasons to PC. Anyways, let's move on. Damage win rates for Europe console. What has changed here? Not much. Ashe at the top instead of Sombra this time. Sombra's pick rate way lower. Maybe she is permaban on console and I'm just completely unaware. I personally haven't been seeing Sombra banned much on PC, so the story might be different here. Regardless though, Ashe absolutely dominating. Same with Pharah once again. That Grandmaster Pharah players on console going nuclear. Going absolutely nuclear. What else is a big statistical outlier? Grandmaster, Diamond, Masters, Widow players, Platinum Widow players doing much better here. So she's risen up here. Reaper also very good as well. For Grandmaster Plus, your bottom heroes are Freya, Sojourn, Cassidy not as low, but Junk and Mei are down here, unfortunately. Soldier, Ashe, your top two hit scans almost picked every game. Same with Bastion, same with Cass, same with Soj. It's a hit scan ass meta in terms of pick rate. Metal rank win rates for damage heroes. Vendetta's good. Reaper looks good. I go all the way to the bottom. Torbjorn, of course, and bronze, silver, gold goes down quite a bit. Cassidy and bronze, silver, gold, pretty healthy. The bronze Mei absolutely going insane over here, and then just like probably sub 40% win rate in Grandmaster, which is very interesting. But yeah, console EU. Damage win rates for console in Asia. Venture is up here with a huge win rate. Same with Echo, Sim, Sombra, and Torb is up here in Asia specifically. Torb was on the bottom too for EU and NA, but he is played with a crazy win rate here. The win rates again might be a bit skewed if I had to assume with super low sample size here. So this data, I'm not gonna throw it out, but like this looks completely different than EU and NA. And like I don't have a true player count for this region, but one easy indicator that's public for you guys is to just for the console players here, go to the top 500 leaderboards and then check each of the roles and then change the region. You can see EU and NA probably populate all the way to the bottom, especially the challenger score, because challenger score is a representation of active players who are playing and grinding challenger at that high rank. And then you can see probably in Asia, the number of people showing up is probably much smaller. So it means a much smaller pool size. So the data here might just be a little bit wackier, but here it is at a glance. You can see Sojourn, Cass, Mei at the bottom three, but Venture, Echo, Sim, Sombra, pretty good despite the low pick rate. Same with Torb, but Ashe picked pretty high and wins a lot still. And yeah, let's move on from DPS and move on to supports now. Okay, support win rates on America's PC. Let's see here. Illari, absolute biggest winner by far. This is not even just a region lock. Obviously I made these graphs so I can kind of see, I already know who's going to be the best out of all of them. And Illari, sorry if I butchered her name. Let me anglicize a little bit. Illari, solar rifle, maximum damage increased from 70 to 75 and minimum damage increased from 20 to 25. Now it's like, oh, why 5 damage? She has less utility, but who cares about utility? If you just simply kill the enemies, you're swinging the fight in your favor. Utility is just a means to an end. Utility is a type of resource to hopefully secure kills and to like win the game. But if killing or eliminating an enemy is also another way to reduce the amount of resources your team needs. You don't need utility because utility you use utility to get elims, but you can just get the elims yourself. That all to say that 5 damage changed her break points, and I think that's a big reason why her win rate jumped a lot this season. So Illari has a 1.5x headshot multiplier. It's not 2x. So 75 with the headshot change. Let's do some quick maths here. So 70 times 1.5 headshot multiplier used to be 105 damage, right? For a headshot body shot used to do 105 plus 70. 175 damage, nothing too crazy. Now that it's 75, 1.5 headshot multiplier puts it at 112.5. 112.5 when you hit back-to-back headshots means it's 225. Suddenly, the 5 damage hits the 225 HP breakpoint. In a strict 1v1, that can be a major, major difference. It's also like, you know, 1 headshot, 2 body shots, 2 body shots, 1 headshot. Any of the combos, it reduces the amount of time that you need to kill a squishy hero. And then when you combine it with Outburst, which is the, you know, the little thing that boops, and you take the perk that ignites them and stuff, all these numbers help her secure kills. And I find oftentimes the best Ilaris are the ones that are kind of taking side angles and sometimes dueling a lot of people one-on-one, especially with the pylon pocketing her. Now, with that in mind, you can see her win rate and pick rate, her win rate especially, super high across all ranks. Every rank, she's the takeaway #1 pick right now. Pick Ilari, Grandmaster especially. Your worst picks are going to be KarQ. KarQ, not been performing well for a long time. She is also similar boat to Cassie, where she ends up being a fallback hero for a lot of people when their other pick doesn't end up working. It's like, oh, I don't know what to pick, I'll just default to KarQ. And a lot of people play KarQ incorrectly. That being said, the fallbackness of her nature is probably pulling that win rate down a lot, similar to Cassie, where I mentioned earlier. The hinder nade and the flashbang is the, oh, I must pick something to annoy the enemy versus playing something to win. You're playing to react versus playing proactive, and a lot of KarQs are reactive versus being a proactive KarQ, where you go on crazy angles and play her the way I expect her to be intended to be played, especially in solo queue. I think that version of KarQ is much better than just playing defensive and just heal botting. I feel like if you're heal botting, you're playing the wrong hero. Like, her whole strength is that mobility and the annoyingness. And again, being annoyed at Suzu is very different than actually what's meaningful in winning. And KarQ has just not been a winning hero for a long time. A lot of people misrepresent how effective she is. Overall, not great despite being super, super popular. Same with Ana. Ana's your next most picked hero. I mean, she's not at the bottom, but certainly not like anything crazy above 50% win rate at all. She's like 47, hovering 47, 46 for almost all the ranks. Not too great despite how popular she is. Moira being picked a ton by the bronze, silver, and gold players right now. And even so, even though she's a low skill floor, she's not, you know, producing wins as you might expect. Your biggest takeaway winner is still Ilari, and here's Zenyatta as well for your medal ranks. Grandmaster Plus goes down a decent amount, but for everybody else, really good. Same with Lucio, really good at all ranks up to Masters, and at Grandmaster, right in the even 50%. Wu Yang as well, good for almost everybody. Still pretty good at Grandmaster. What other statistical anomaly is there? Everybody else seems pretty solid, pretty okay, and then we have a random Lifeweaver, 50% win rate in Grandmaster. Might just be those few Lifeweaver mains pulling that data up. We'll see if it's any similar to any of the other regions, but that's the way it goes right now. And in terms of the meta, I don't think anybody's really banning supports at this current time. Wu Yang's not being banned right now. It's mostly Vendetta and like random tanks and random DPSs at this current time. Takeaway point, Ilari, biggest winner. Still avoid KarQ and Moira, especially if you don't main them or play them very well. Next, we have Europe on PC. Any difference here? Nope. Ilari still at the top. Zen Lucio still top 3 as well. Baptiste this time, not Lifeweaver, has that one big pull in the win rate in Grandmaster, but the story ends up being the same here for the most part. But Mercy actually picked a lot more in EU. Let's flash back to NA really quickly. Actually, I lied. NA, they still play a lot of Mercy, but Juno's a lot more popular here. Juno is a little less popular here and still middle of the pack, still does all right. Ana picked a lot, still bottom. Same with Moira, same with Weaver. So Weaver's stats here look pretty normal, so it's just that one random Weaver on NA pulling it up. Here it's that one random Baptiste pulling it up in Grandmaster. And then KarQ, same thing, super high pick rate, but just not doing great. Let's look at Asia. Asia plays a very different meta. Very different story here, at least outside of Ilari. So overall, we saw all 3 PC regions for support. Ilari, that buff was crazy. She's insane right now. Wu Yang, really good up here in Asia as well at all ranks. Zenyatta, good in the metal ranks, falls off in Grandmaster. Similar story to the other regions. Ana picked so much. This is like unbelievably high. If you look at the y-axis, the pick rate exceeds 60% for Ana. Let me take a look at EU here, backtracking for a second. Ana is at 40%. See, my y-axis is a little bit lower here. And then same with NA, if you look carefully, Ana at 40%, and that's like as high as it goes. But like in Asia, they love this hero. I don't know what to tell you. And her win rate looks pretty healthy across all of them. like I said, remember how we saw Tracer was like just the Koreans? I'm not gonna say just the Koreans play it because other parts of Asia play the heroes, but like I know Korean Tracers because of like old Overwatch League pros, they go a little sicko mode. You combo with Ana a lot in Asia, especially in Korean servers. They love this hero and she does pretty solid here. So if you play on this region, you'll be just fine. KarQ, not as bad though in terms of overall win rate, 4th from the bottom in Asia with the 2nd most pick rate, but it seems like those are like your only 2 picks. Ana and KarQ, with the occasional Illari if she's not getting banned right now. Mercy, Moira, Weaver at the bottom 3 here. And interestingly, Mercy is just not well loved in Asia because Ana and KarQ and fast-paced nanos and Kitsune rushes are probably the meta. It feels like Mercy maybe falls behind, can't get a safe res. So the game is much faster paced, so she kind of is bottom 3 here. But in the other regions, Mercy is like top 4, top 5. That's the main takeaway point for PC here. And let's take a look at Console Americas. Console Americas for the supports here, Illari still at the top. And guess what? She's a hit scan. And you know what? Who loves hit scan players? Zimmers. You know what Diva likes? Hit scan players, because you can eat the projectiles. All to say, this is probably how the meta is shaping up. As one domino falls, the rest kind of fall in place. Zenyatta and Lucio here, pretty high up, which is similar out to the PC outside of Asia. But what else is going on in console here? Mercy Pocket's very good here. Juno actually really popular on console here. Not so popular in Asia and other regions, or Asia, EU, and NA on PC. Like middle of the pack popularity, but she seems to be like top 2. 2nd most popular here, top 3 popularity. Brig at the bottom popularity, but pretty solid pick when picked. Baptiste hit scan, so Grandmaster doing really well here. Wu Yang actually pretty solid in Grandmaster, but kind of low in the medal ranks. And then as we go down to the bottom, KarQ once again at the bottom here with Lifeweaver and Moira. So takeaway points, still rock with the Illari when you can. Avoid KarQ. Console EU, Illari. Yeah, look at that pick rate in Grandmaster. Sheesh. Big graph right there. Same with Baptiste, 2 hit scan supports, doing it up, and that win rate is pulled up quite a bit at that rank. But again, overall for your medal rank players, Illari, Zen, really good. Lucio, also really good. I think it's just that Grandmaster win rate in Lucio that made him go down to like 6th down the list. But if you're a medal rank player, definitely stick to the Illari, Zen, Lucio for sure. Baptiste if you're Grandmaster Plus and you got sicko aim. Mercy if you want to pocket one of your hit scans. And how does this go down on the bottom here? Ana, bottom 4, not like terrible in the other ranks, but the 3 ones that are just not doing too hot. Again, Moira, Lifeweaver, KarQ, Weaver, Moira, common denominators. And let's look at the final region to wrap this video up. Illari once again at the top, above 60% win rate in Diamond and Masters here. Sheesh. Juno's overall average is really high here as well, so it shoots up a little bit on Asia console. Baptiste, really good as well. Zen, Lucio, not as high. Look at that Zenyatta win rate in Grandmaster. It's like 42%, which knocked him down with the overall average. 5th down the list, but still a great pick regardless. Same with Lucio. His Grandmaster win rate is the reason why it went down to 6th down the list, but again, great for everybody else. Moira not at the bottom this time. Mercy actually goes down here because again, Asia, we saw in Asia PC, same I guess with Asia console, they just don't like playing Mercy here. KarQ, really popular here along with Ana being her 2 most popular supports. Picked a lot, but still bottom. Not bottom, but like a second from the bottom. And Weaver at the bottom, true bottom for Asia. And yeah, that is your takeaway for the meta heroes thus far. And win rates, meta picks, all that fun stuff. Once again, I may have contradicted myself because doing this all in one take, I'm kind of just like looking at it and trying to interpret it as quick as I can to keep things succinct. If you guys have any more insight into what your region and rank is going through, and if these stats align with what you see, I'm all ears, happy to read them. Thanks for listening. Takeaway point, play Illari, play Sigma, play Genji, I guess. The Ashe, those are solid. Okay, goodbye.